like people quantifying exactly what they get. So like I don't write Christmas lists. I don't like giving gift certificates and stuff like that. Like I like buying presents for people. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that. It's the emphasis that I must buy this to be happy that I don't like.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I like to give people that are in my life presents. You know, when they say something that catches my eye about something they like, and then you surprise them with it. I think it's a lot more meaningful than whether you're just getting it for a small group of people or a large group of people. Like just the focus. And again, I go back to that focus on that date that somebody tells you this is an important date to take off work. You have to see your family. You have to buy presents, even just a few, even just once from the dollar store.
But you don't have to. You can choose to.
Yeah, I choose not to. But I think that there still is a commercial and even a sort of societal emphasis on that period of time. We have more. You can get the last word next time.
Merry Christmas, guys. You've been talking a lot about taking Christmas back from religion, but I think that as of now, it's actually the other way around. I think Christmas already is ours, and that the religious are trying to take it back from us. Insofar as what we in the West consider Christmas to be today in the modern world is a secular thing, is an atheist thing. Even as far as so-called religious people practice it, it is a secular thing. We're trading presents, which are worldly values, We're celebrating our family, which is a worldly value. It really has nothing to do with religion anymore. And I think, we've been talking about taking the commercialization out of Christmas, but that's exactly what the church is trying to do. They're saying take the commercialization out of Christmas and put Christ back in. I mean, I understand that, getting too worked up about materialism, and especially the monetary value of gifts, is bad. But I think the idea of Christmas being centered around material values is actually a secularist thing for it to be, and we should try to keep it that way. And that's why Christmas is a good thing, and it already is a celebration of those kinds of values. And sorry if I'm going too long, but you might have already gone over this. I was late, but a lot of the things we do with Christmas came from pagans. It originated as the pagan celebration of the solstice and everything. So I really think that the name might have Christ in it, but Christmas, as far as what it actually refers to in reality, if anything, the religious co-opted it from us. We're not trying to co-opt it from them.
Yeah, we did go about that at the beginning, because I think it is really important to know that it's not a religious holiday at all.
Well, and of course, not just the pagan origins, but if you read, and I mentioned this, I don't think I had the mic on, you might not have heard it, but Tom Flynn, who edits Free Inquiry, wrote a book called The Trouble with Christmas, The War on Christmas, The Trouble with Christmas. I read it. In any case, and he documents the history and origins of it, and it's not just paganism. I mean, Charles Dickens had a lot to do with it when he wrote A Christmas Carol. Coca-Cola defined our modern conception of Santa Claus, among other aspects of what we think of as this, very archaic tradition. But just a couple of points on what you said. First of all, I think you're right that there's a lot of secularization of the holiday, and Jenny and I agree on that. I'm not trying to emphasize the material values as far as purchasing and consumption. I think that there are other secular values. I mean, family and friends, and maybe even gift giving in a more de-emphasize the material aspects of the gift giving, but that kind of generosity of spirit. I mean, those can be secular values. They don't have to be religious ones. So I'm with you in terms of continuing to secularize it or holding on to the secular aspects of it. The problem that I keep coming back to, though, is that I'm not convinced that most people realize any of this history, except some of us who have looked into it. And when people kind of point to the so-called Judeo-Christian heritage of Canada, Canada was founded as a Christian country, and then they point to the prevalence of things like Christmas. They actually use this to justify anti-secular political policies, which are not trivial. And so that's when I get concerned about these so-called trivial issues, because they are kind of a stepping stone and a legitimizing force to more important policies that CFI and other allied organizations think are very important. Religious accommodations, public funding of religion, those sorts of things. So, I don't think this is the biggest problem, but I do think that it does fuel other fires we need to be more worried about. Yeah.
Well, that's why we have to take history back. We can't, we live in a world where our whole civilization is set up by secular values, but most people believe in religion, right? And we can't say because most of the things we see are mixed between secular and religion that we should just sort of, abdicate everything because we might be sanctioning religion by having values. We need to steal history back, If you're talking about sort of using the term Christmas still and not, thank you, it's kind of short. I just like, as sort of like just accepting the status quo might give sanction to religion, and I understand that part, but we can sort of keep the Christmas values and have it at this time of the year and everything, as long as we tell the people we know why we're doing it and everything, right?
Well, that's key.
I agree with you entirely on that we shouldn't just sort of be silent and let it be as it is. But I mean, and as far as the whole material values things go, you know, there was no money for presents during the Dark Ages because there was no
Money.
There was no values because the Catholic Church ran society, right? It's really like we talk about commercial values, which is our family, right? Well, you know, I don't think Christmas should be about excess, but at the same time, it's because we have the modern world, which only atheist values could give us, and all the material values that it gives us, that we have time to spend with our families. You know, before we had all these material values, before we had industry and technology, you know, we were working 16 hours a day, and there wasn't time to spend with the kids, and we lived to be 35. But now that our lifespan has doubled because of the Industrial Revolution, and because the Renaissance gave us secular values, you know, so I think material values are really connected to family values and to secular values, and that's why we should keep Christmas the way it is. Thanks.
Fair enough. Thank you.
My question is for both panelists. I'm just wondering what you think about Santa Claus and all this. Do you think it's a...
Not bad.
He looks cute, by the way. I don't know why I think he's gross.
He's a really elongated face and Rudolph nose. Like he's a
It's
real
horrifying.
reindeer
I
slash
can take it if you want.
Yes, well, by all means. I don't want him here. It freaks me out for work for a long time.
Does he celebrate religion?
That's not fair. That's
Sorry.
I'm just wondering, like, how do you think, what do you think kids should be told about Santa Claus personally, each of you? Like, do you think you should just tell them up front, oh, there ain't no Santa and you just need to be good for the sake of it? Or would you just, because they're kids, you want to inspire them somehow to be good, for example, and to just give them this sense of, and you know, so that they can interact, you know, with other kids who, most of them would have this notion that Santa Claus exists. For that reason, you would probably prefer to tell them, yeah, there is a Santa and you need to be good and all that. Just what's your stance on Santa to your kids?
Yeah, it's an issue I have been thinking about for a while because I was debating what I would do when I do have kids. And I think I will teach them about Santa Claus, but not in a threatening sense. My parents never said, be good or Santa Claus won't give you presents. Like, that was never an element of Christmas. It was always kind of a joke, and I actually remember figuring out that Santa wasn't real because I deduced it based on the evidence. Like, I snuck into my parents' closet and found the wrapping paper that my presents were wrapped with. I compared the handwriting of my mom versus the From Santa presents, and I'm like, ah! So my discovery that Santa wasn't real was like, I'm smarter than my parents, and so I don't have
That sounds like a Christmas value.
But like it was fun. Like my parents still sign everything from Santa, and their youngest child is 20. Like so, it's just evolved from a harmless childhood fantasy to a family joke. And I've also heard a lot of stories from people who have used the discovery that Santa wasn't real as a stepping stone to believe that God isn't real. Because it's a good indication that parents don't always tell you the truth. So I think that if kids learn that parents are fallible and parents can lie, it could be a valuable educational lesson. So I think I will teach my kids that Santa's real, but not in a way that, like, I might just give hints and stuff like that and get them to figure it out. And if they do figure it out, I'll give them a hug and a candy cane.
So it's kind of like the tooth fairy, I guess, to you.
Yeah, like it's something that you can believe in as a fantasy without focusing on its threat.
Yeah.
Like I don't understand what parents who threaten the use of Santa Claus.
Good thing you're not still losing teeth. Your parents might still be losing your money. May I? No, of course, it's an interesting observation people have made time and time again about the comparisons between God Almighty and Santa Claus. They're both omniscient. Santa knows if you've been naughty or nice, and God knows the same, pretty much. They both judge you with rewards and punishments as appropriate. They both can do miracles. I mean, the list goes on and on. So I think in my case, what I would do if I want to add kids would be somewhat like Jenny, but I wouldn't really, not so much into the lying and deception. I'd use it as a critical thinking exercise. I'm not sure I'd tell them one way or the other. I would just tell them the attributes of Santa. I'd give them, I don't know, the Wikipedia entry on it or something, and I'd ask them to... Sorry. No, well, I would wait obviously until they can read.